Well, let's get to the heart of it all with our commentator who will give us her personal take on the news and issues of the day. And today we have the journalist, political affairs commentator, and Arise News analyst, Dr. Constance Ikokwu. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us. Well, the 60 federal lawmakers said that they want Nigeria to return to a parliamentary system of government. And what's been your view so far?
Okay, the first thing is that we have to recognize that a public discourse such as this, it's important. It's a great step forward. And then based off that, we can also say that we have to be careful because it's a very important topic. And I think when you listen to what they're already talking about, you can see that we are going to consider three things. Number one, politics governs and directs everything we do in life, every aspect of life. Then number two, politics is also important, and in Nigeria, it is utterly dysfunctional. And so that's why we're talking about it. And then number three, we need to fix our politics. And without that, we can do absolutely nothing. We won't be able to move forward. So against that background, when you look around the world, you will see that different political systems have different historical circumstances. So when we are thinking about our own political system that we need to change, we have to think about our own historical circumstances, because a copy and paste will not work for us. We have practiced a presidential system of government before. Now we are doing, we have practiced parliamentary before. Yeah. Now we have a warped presidential federal system of government. In both instances, we've had issues of exclusion, alienation, domination, lack of accountability. So what this says is that we have to put on our critical thinking caps and construct originally a system that speaks and responds to our peculiar circumstances. So even if you're going to borrow presidential again, or borrow parliamentary, or even confederacy, which is something we do not talk about, a loose alliance of different nations, because Nigeria is a country with so many different countries within it. So we have to think about that carefully. It's a good discussion to be having, but let's not just copy and paste like before. Mm-hmm. Let's try to do something more original so that we are not going back and forth. All
right, my guest, who is the honorable member representing Kebbi, Tambuwal Federal Constituency, Abdulsamad Dasuki, said the reason why they are considering a return to parliamentary system of government is because it will help reduce the cost of governance. How true will this be actually?
Well, that's a good argument. Presidential system, as we see today, is so expensive, it's very costly. Look at, he comes from the National Assembly, right? Is it House of Reps or
House
Senate?
Of Reps, yeah.
House of Reps. How many of them there? When you calculate, their take-home pay, and you calculate what a professor or a lecturer in a university takes home. Mind you, teaching is very important. We need that. It's a noble profession because you need to educate and teach your future leaders. When you calculate and juxtapose, you see that we sink so much money into that National Assembly. What for? He talked about the elections. The 2023 elections, we spent 305 billion naira, and still we had very short elections. What for? So yes, it is very expensive. Parliamentary might be less pricey for us. However, will it suit our realities and our historical circumstances? So this is not about talk. This is something that needs us to really sit down, think properly, think through it, and come up with something. Even if we're going to borrow, do we need to tweak it? Do we need to move it around to suit Nigeria? Because like I said, it's a very big country, and there's no country like us in other parts of the world. Every country, for instance, Switzerland practices democracy, but they have tweaked their own type of democracy because they have different ethnic groups. There are the French, the Germans, the Italians, and some other people. So they do it in such a way that it is representative and inclusive of everybody. In that way, people feel like they have a stake, and then they can, give allegiance to the state and work for the progress of the state. Yeah,
and very interesting you brought that issue of Switzerland, because they rotate their presidency every year. I mean, they have vice presidents, and then for each year, one of the region who has a vice president takes over the presidency for a year and it goes on and all of that.
You have to make people feel like they are part of it so that they can work for the good of the country.
Yeah, and of course the Alex Ekweme Constitutional Conference Committee sometime around 1995 has suggested that we should actually rotate, you know, have this power rotation, but it didn't really work. Very quickly.
He came up with the 6 geopolitical zones, which is actually excellent. But the thing is that in Nigeria, you know, this issue of ethnicity, you want to exclude others. It's not going to work. It's not working. It will never work.
All right, let's go to the issues of the young people. The National Youth Council of Nigeria has this acting president here who is saying that, look, the government really needs to do something drastically because young people are getting tired. The government, those in government are calling for patience. But of course, young people are beginning to protest with an instance today in Osogbo, the Osun State capital. Very, very important state when it comes to the politics of the country, knowing the antecedents of Mr. President.
I mean, he has very valid points. All over the country, there's a bit of restiveness in regard to the state of the economy or the state of affairs generally. I think it's important to talk about youth because in many countries, the youth are a significant portion of the population. In Nigeria, 70% is under 30 and 42% is under 15. And that's a lot. And so there are so many advantages of having a young population such as ours. You know, they can bring fresh ideas, fresh perspectives. If they are supported, they can drive innovation, skills, productivity. I mean, you can do a lot with the young people. So the question then is, do we have leaders that are smart enough to recognize this and then invest in them in such a way that, you know, for the long-term development of our country, you need this? So that's the question we should be asking. If we're not doing that, it's actually our loss.
Yeah, and he was, you know, prescribing the issues of holding town hall meetings with young people because many people were unable to even pay school fees because of soaring inflation, high cost of living in one way or the other. I mean, what will you say to such a proposal?
That's not particularly a youth problem. That's a general Nigerian economic problem. So that means if the economy progresses, you know, the youth will also be part of it. They will feel it in a positive way. If it doesn't, it affects everybody, middle-aged Nigerians, older Nigerians, you know, but the youth are particularly restless because most of them do not have jobs. They're either unemployed or underemployed. It's really tough for them. Yes, it might be a good idea to have town hall meetings across the country, but after the town hall meetings, what do you do actually? It's not enough to talk. It is good to talk, to engage, but after that, are you taking the actions that are necessary to see that you move your economy from what it is to where it should be? That's a lot of long-term development game that we're going to have to be playing.
All right, we must thank you so much, our own Rise Analyst, Dr. Constance Ikokwu, for helping us to understand all the issues. And of course, everybody is facing the economic challenges. I mean, the holes being put in our pockets are getting deeper and deeper by the day.
Are you sure? Is it getting deeper in yours?
It is. I mean, journalists are not exempted from the economic hardships we're all facing. And of course, that's the more reason why we should support those in political authority to see how we all look for solutions, because everyone is affected. And of course, in democratic culture, everyone is supposed to contribute to good governance. And we all hope that those in power will know how important it is for us to be able to have a working government that works for all.